Welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about the swing and how simpler is better. Let's think about the grandfather clock, specifically the pendulum in the clock. So it was a long rod with a weight on the end, and that's what helped the clock keep time. It just did this all day, day after day after day, back and forth on the same path. The rod was always the same distance, speed was kind of always the same, very consistent. So if our swing for our serve could mimic that, then the serve should be more consistent. Let's envision our arm kind of being that pendulum and having kind of a pendulum swing, meaning that my arm's always the same distance, my arm's fairly straight, swinging back and forth on the same path. So not making any rounded motion at all, just straight back, straight forward, and we'd come back and we'd go straight forward again. So as consistent as we can get this swing for our serve, that helps our consistency with that ball going across the net. I would like to have my arm as straight and as long as I could have it for as long as I can have it while I'm swinging, while I'm serving. So the further away this paddle is, the greater the speed is. So let's say this is my swing speed. Now imagine my arm is 10 feet long and that paddle is way out at that 10 feet mark. It's going much faster because it's further away. So I want to keep my arm as straight as I can while I'm swinging. That's going to make it be more consistent. Now eventually my arm's going to have to bend. So as I'm starting swinging with the straight arm all the way through to contact, chasing that ball as it goes away, at some point then my arm is going to end up doing this as I finish high over the shoulder because my arm's still attached to my shoulder. So coming through here, straight arm, and then eventually it breaks up here. As I talked about in an earlier video, most of my swing and my momentum is coming from my shoulder and from my hips and maybe from my back foot, getting that momentum into the swing. It's not coming from the bicep. So what I don't want to do is get in here and then use my bicep and whip the paddle up like this. You could maybe get more speed that way, but it's going to be less consistent because the primary reason, I'll turn sideways so you can see this, as I come through here, if I start to use my bicep, then this arc in here is very compact. It's not as elongated as this. And so if this arc is very compact, then my hitting zone, that little box that I have to hit in, is very small to get that ball to go well across that net. If I will keep this arm fully extended, then that hitting box is a little bit larger, like in through here. And so I've made that hitting box much larger. My consistency is higher. Also, if I'm doing this coming all the way through, then there's no pressure here really on my elbow. I'm not going to get tennis elbow from doing this, and I hit a lot of serves. I want to keep that arm fully extended, relax after contact, have that paddle keep going toward my target, and then eventually it's going to break and come up here. But staying relaxed after contact, I've already hit the ball's already gone. There's no need for me to power through this afterwards. But if I'm going to go through here and use this bicep to kind of whip the ball, not going to be as consistent. What does that look like for the serve swing then? I want to think of that pendulum, and I've talked about being in this ready position. And as I do this, I want to visualize that pendulum on that grandfather clock, just having this straight swing motion back and forth. That's as simple as I can get it, and as consistent as I can get it, so that serve is consistent going across that net. What that means then is my paddle is straight back, straight path to the ball, and if I do this well, that ball continues on that straight path, and my paddle chases it as it goes away, as that ball goes away to the target. Eventually then, it finishes high up and over my shoulder. As straight as I can keep my arm, so I want it fully extended because that sweet spot of that paddle is always the same distance away. If I start bending my elbow, then that sweet spot length varies from there to here, depending on how much bend I have in the elbow. I don't want to do that. Straight back, and as I'm serving, I'm thinking straight path to the ball, and then the ball takes off, and my paddle chases it as it goes away. As I'm in my ready position to start serving, I tend to have my paddle cocked off to the side in this kind of a position. My wife, when she teaches, has it be straight back, a straight extension from her arm. Both are fine. I don't have a preference over either one. I tend to do this. I think this works equally well. So whichever one is more comfortable for you, do that one. So I don't think that really makes a difference whether I start here or whether I start here with this paddle straight back. The key is I want a straight line of sight to this ball. I want a straight swing path, that pendulum swing to that ball. Whether I'm starting with my paddle here or here probably doesn't make any difference. It is important then where my paddle is when it starts. I want that straight path, that straight line of sight to the ball, meaning that I don't want this. I can't swing straight to the ball anymore. I have to round the swing off. That's not a pendulum really. Not here, not here, not here. I don't need to have this behind my back to try and get power. We've already talked about other ways to get power. We'll talk about more of those in the future videos as well. As I'm starting my serve, I want to think about a straight line of sight, straight path to this ball. Now, one thing you can do that may help you with this, go home, get in your bathroom, get someplace where you have a mirror. Imagine you're on the court, get into this ready position, and then look up in the mirror and see if this paddle is straight behind you. You could also do this, but I think in some ways it's easy to get a different perspective looking in that mirror from the opposite view or somebody looking at you. So I'd be at home, I'd be relaxed. I would imagine I'm getting into the service ready position. I would get down here and then look up and check in that mirror and see if this is straight back, because I'm essentially looking from the other side at myself to see how straight back that paddle is. Again, you can do this and do that if that helps you as well, but try and practice this at home if you're not accustomed to, or if you're not sure if your paddle's in a straight starting position. So ideally, I want this pendulum, I want this straight motion to this ball. If you want to go practice this in front of a mirror, that's a good way to figure out how accurate your position is when you start. A key takeaway then, a key thing for consistency is when you're serving, you're just about to serve, be thinking mentally about, I want to swing straight to this ball. I want to have a good straight path for my paddle. That will help the ball go straight across that net and hit your target more often.